Hey folks, look what we got. We got the gas tank here, the additional gas tank. So we got one that goes here, one that goes here. I've kind of measured a few things, and I've actually could have lowered these about 1 inch lower, and then the bottom would be about as low as you could get it, because if it's lower than here, then where the fuel goes into the carburetor, then it won't feed uphill. So in a way, we're only 1 inch high. It could have been another inch lower, but I'm not going to fret over that. But that's not what we're here for. We are here to show you how we're putting this gas tank in. See, this is the gas tank, and this is where it bolts onto that bottom bolt right there. See, these are the two top holes here, and then the bottom holes here. Here's the bottom hole here, and the two top holes here and over there. So those are the top bolts, this is the bottom hole, but this is where the on-off valve will be, and the fuel filter. And this has a filter too. It's got like a brass filter inside there. I don't know what they call those, but it's a metallic filter. It'll catch the big stuff, and this should catch anything else. And these are very important, because what happened was we ran out of gas over here in my brand new super clean gas tank. And when we ran out of gas, it pulled the gas out of the bottom of the tank, and somehow there was some dirt or something in there, and it clogged one of the jets on the carburetor, and it wouldn't start. We had to take the carburetor off and blow all the jets out and put it all back, and it started just fine. So if you ever run, well, number one, put a fuel filter between your tank and your carburetor, number one. And we're going to have three. We're going to have one for this tank, one for this tank, and one final one to go through before it goes into there for this tank. So yeah, so there's one for this tank, one for every tank basically. So all tanks will be fuel filtered. And then the on-off valves, we may have to rearrange the on-off valve filter setup there. I don't know. We got to problem is we got a lot of stuff to stick in here. We got a filter to stick in here. We got a T like this we got to stick in here. We got another hose to stick in there. We still got that on-off valve there. And so that we'll figure out next. But right now, we got this done. So we're going to bolt this tank on here now. And we're going to run this line over to this tank here. And then we're going to T into this tank here. That tank's going to come in this line. This tank here is going to come in this line, and this is going to be the output to the third tank. You call that first tank or third tank, I don't know, but anyway, the black tank. So we are going to start bolting that on there, and then we'll cut these lines and configure this little guy here next. So we will be back with more of my Paradise on Battalion Island. What we did also, we bought some, I bought a whole set of these little clamps from 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, whatever millimeter size. I bought the whole thing. I think I got 10 of each. Maybe, yeah, 10 pieces right there. That's what it says, 10. So 10 of each. And that's coming in handy because this hose is a different size clamp than this filter is, than this filter and this hose. So we got 3 different size clamps and this on-off valve. So they're all different sizes. That's a 8, that's a 9, that's a 10. I think that's a 9. So we got a 9 and 9 and a 9 and an 8 and a 10. So you see, have a bunch when you're messing with this, especially because I'm using this heavy duty hose. So if it's in the boat and if somebody steps on it or bumps it or hits it, it's not going to tear it up. I'm using the super flexible stuff here because we got to make those kind of sort of sharp bends, and this won't make a sharp bend. This is nice heavy duty long line chemical hose is what I think it's called, chemical. Can you read that? It's upside down. Braided chemical hose, yeah. Braided chemical hose. It's 3/16 right there, 3/16, 150 psi. So it'll hold, and there's no pressure on this other than if the sun heats up the tanks and makes some kind of pressure, but 150 psi is doubtful. So anyway, back to work. We'll put that in. Paradise. All right, everybody. Let me show you what I'm up to. I had to fabricate these little tabs, and what they are, there's some kind of a hinge. See that there, what that word says on it? Home or something? Anyway, I bought these at a handyman hardware store, and I've been using them for all my fuel stuff right there. I'm turning my camera kind of weird here, but yes, you see all my fuel stuff right here. This angle here, this bar that goes out, this one that's bent down and bolts onto the fuel valve. Over here, my return spring doodad is made from them. See that? It's kind of shaky. I'm just having to hold it. There we go. Steady it up a little bit. Okay. And now I've taken them and cut them in half. Opened these holes up to 1/4 of an inch. They were about 3/16. Opened them up to 1/4 inch because I got 1/4 inch bolts to put through here. And I'm putting these through here. Here's one that's already done. We couldn't mount this onto here with the bolt going through it from down there. See, these bolts, they're epoxied in so they don't turn. Well, if you put a nut on here, it can't turn because it hits that housing there. See that? You can't tighten it. So you can't put the nut on. So what we did, instead we gave it this little extension thing. We put the bolt through here so it doesn't turn. We put a short, put the nut on here, a short bolt through here. Put a lock washer and a nut, and we put an extension. So now this bolts onto here. The bolt goes through here, and we got plenty of room to tighten the nut. Ta-da! How about that? So again, these little handy dandy. This is half of one here. I cut this in half and then shaved a little bit off because it's got the hole can't be too far from this edge here. It was about that long, but I had to cut it off and then I split it in half. But that's all we had to do to extend that so that we could put a nut on here and tighten it down on the already fixed up for our on-off fuel valves. So we got one for this tank and one for this tank. So we're gonna mount those on there, finish up with the fuel line. I don't know if you saw much of that before, but we're using this super flexible silicone hose for the sharp bends going over to the valve. And then we're using this heavier duty chemical line hose, 150 psi. It says somewhere on here, chemical hose, braided, wherever, I don't know, on the other one. But anyway, oh, there it is right there. It's written on this side, yeah. There, ow. There we go. That's it. Upside down. Chemical hose. So this is 3/16 Superflex braided chemical hose. And there's got your measurement, 3/16 inch and 150 psi. So this is a good fuel line hose. You can see your fuel. That's why I wanted it to see where the fuel is. Make sure there's no air bubbles because we got a long line to go all the way back to there, and it's going up and down, and you get an air bubble trapped in there or something, and it wouldn't start or it wouldn't go. Or we want to be able to diagnose this. So all our fuel lines are clear, so we can see the fuel. And that's it. So we're going to bolt these on, and we'll be back with more fuel line stuff. And my Paradise, I've been tying iron. Paradise. Hey y'all, we got 2 out of 3 tanks done. So we got this guy here configured, as you may have seen earlier, or maybe not. Depends on what part of the video I show, but that's basically, that's the configuration there. Well, here, there, yeah, we can't really see it, can you? Let me get back there. There we go. That's coming out of the tank, going into the on-off valve, from the on-off valve into the filter, from the filter all the way over to the other thing. And we're just suspending it with these strings right now, just so it, lines up like it should. Now we're gonna go undo the support beams, and we're over here to this one. This one is the same setup here. We go from the tank into the on-off valve, from the on-off valve into the filter, from the filter into the main line, which again is coming from that tank down there. See that tank? Coming from there through here. And again, this will be lined up. This bluish teal looking line will be lined up once it's all configured. We got to get bigger T connectors here. This is a little bit small, and fuel might leak there. It's a size, one size too small for this type. And then it goes over here and then over to the engine. It's going to go over here, and we're going to put a T in here, and this is from the leg of the T, and then the two of the top of the T goes between here and here, and then over to the carburetor. But we got gas in the tank right now, so a little bit, half a liter, maybe not a liter. So anyway, we're draining the tank right now into this bottle here. That's a clean one. We're going to use this bottle for a fundamental when we're filling that boat up in the ocean, because we're using these basically vinegar bottles for gas. It's 1 gallon. The reason we're using these because, number one, they're lightweight, and we can put 10 of them and store them in different places. And when you're filling up the boat, if it's rocking and rolling, you don't have a heavy 5-gallon jerry can trying to pour gas in here. You got this little light one here with a small opening, and like I said, we'll cut that bottle in half and use it for a fun. So we got plenty of slop room to pour this into that cap, into that bottle, and the funnel, which is the bottle becomes a funnel. I'll get it right here. The bottle gets cut in half, becomes a very deep funnel. Then we can just stick it in here or there. Any of these tanks will fill everything up. I'll probably be filling it up here or here, away from the engine, because I don't want to splash gasoline, especially if we've been running and the exhaust is all hot and stuff. I don't want to be dripping gas down around the hot exhaust and have a boat catch fire. We do have plenty of water in the ocean to put it out, but that's well, gas fires, I don't know if you can put them out with water. It'll just float on top, and then you'll still have a fire. You can smother it basically if it didn't explode. But anyway, we don't want to go there. So we fill it up down here, the furthest from the gas tank, and then it just, as it fills, it backfills all these all the way down to the tank here. Now the top of, and I may have explained this before, the top of this is about even with the top of this rail here. See that, the top of this? So conceivably, this is the level of fuel, maximum level of fuel, because once it gets above here, it runs out. And again, we're back at the gas tank. So we don't want to fill it up that full. We probably want to keep it around this height here, which is basically the bottom of this rail, this thing here. So we'll probably only fill these up to about here, is my guess, right around here. We could drop these tanks down another inch, which, like I said, we could do it. It'd be simple. I just have to drill some holes in this piece of wood and fill them with epoxy, and put new bolts in there, and the same down there. Put another one down here where this thing bolts in. right there, right there. And this block of wood, I can drop it down maybe an inch, or just add another block of wood, or just add an extension, stainless steel extension, something. Who knows what I could do, but it'd be simple to lower it 1 inch. And then we'd be able to fill this up almost all the way. And we need to be sure that the bottom of this isn't lower than the carburetor intake here. Because if it is, then we're back to that won't flow into the engine. So everything has to be higher. So right now the bottom is higher. So everything in here should easily flow into the carburetor. Even though we might not can fill these up, like I said, we'll be about these are 6.5 liter. We might can put 5.5 in them, but that still gives us 11 liters there. And I think that's a 6.5 there. So that's 11, 6.5, 17.5 liters, which is about 4 gallons of fuel. So 4 gallons of fuel. And we'll just keep filling it up. I've got 10 of these jugs here that we're going to fill up for our trip. We're going to fill these up. These tanks here, both of these tanks, and of course that one will be full when we take off. And then as we go, we'll have, like I said, 10 of these, maybe in that 5 in that hole, 5 in this hole. Who knows? Maybe we'll stuff them up here in the bow underneath there. We got storage under these bows. We got a good amount of storage for random stuff, life jackets, gasoline, whatever. Our fishing rods and stuff will be all stored up here above on the roof trusses, I'm going to call them. So anyway, back to gas. We're waiting. So as soon as that's done dripping, then we can disconnect this stuff and slap in a filter and a T. The thing that is disappointing me, I'll tell you something that I didn't know would happen. You see this? This is silicone. Here. Silicone. Look at that hose. Flexing, rubbing, bending. You can bend it in half, pop it, all this stuff. But I thought it was impervious to gas. But what's happened is that fuel line got hard. That's the same silicone. And this is hard, like a hard plastic now. And it's almost shrunk. It looks like the outside of it is shrunk. It's not as chubby. See how that's chubby? What is the difference? Is there a difference in chubbiness? Did it get skinny? I don't know. That's weird. I would assume that the silicone fuel line would be impervious to gas, and it would just stay silicone, flexible, nice, bendable, doesn't kink. Hard to get it to kink. See the radius you can bend without a kink? You have to really, there, finally, almost double it back to kink it, so it pinches off fuel. But that's hard. So I'm going to be searching too for a fuel line that'll stay flexible when exposed to gasoline. But we shall see. And of course, this gasoline has alcohol. All gasoline nowadays has got gasohol. It's gasol 10% in the Philippines too. So anyway, we'll let that bottle fill up as full as it can. Empty out this here. That's a 1.5 liter bottle there. So we only had about a liter or 3/4 or maybe even half in there. So we got plenty of room in this bottle to drain that tank dry. So Paradise out. You want to see gas tanks? There we go. 2 gas tanks. Duha. Duha means 2 in Cebuano. Ho, ho, ho. Look what we got here, folks. We got 2 fuel tanks installed and connected all up and ready to rock. We're going from that tank, main line, all the way to here. And again, these are just temporary. We're going to put hoops in here to route this fuel line properly. and it goes over to here. We have the fuel line coming from this tank out here through a filter first, and then into the on-off valve, which is what I wanted for the other ones, but I couldn't do it. But this one, it worked. And then that goes into the main line. This is the on-off here. Then the main line goes over to a main on and off, where you can turn everything off. So you have to replace the carburetor, or you just turn that one valve off and pop it out, work on it, throw it back in, turn the fuel back on. The other thing too is, you see these tanks are about an inch or inch and a half higher, roughly, than the top of this tank. So if you fill this tank all the way to the top, or these tanks, both of these tanks all the way to the top, it overflows this tank. However, with the on-off valve here, you fill those two tanks full, these two tanks here full, you keep this valve off, and the two tanks run to the main into the carburetor. Then, because these are, transparent, you can see the fuel going down. Once the fuel gets down to here or so, you can turn this one on, and now this one feeds in. You could use like a reserve tank or just turn it on later, but at any rate, I can fill these two completely full and max it out fuel wise, and fill that completely full, max it out full fuel wise, turn it off. Of course, turn it off before any of these are filled, turn it off, and then fill that one separately. Or I can just open that and watch the fuel go up until it gets to the top, and then turn that valve off, and then come back and top these off, because these are the ones that's going to drain into there. So anyway, that's it. A whole mess of on-off valves, a few T's. We do have to come back, like I said. These T's are actually one size too small, so I got to replace these T's. I got some more T's at the house that I'll bring out here tomorrow, and we'll just pop these. It's just two T's. There's a T there and there's a T there, so I'll put new T's in there that are the right size, and then those hose clamps, we'll clamp them down nice and tight. So other than that, we haven't ran it because we still have to get the drive shaft and all that welded. We're not going to do anything because we don't want to bend anything or mess anything up. We'll see. I will tell. You'll see. You will see. You'll see everything. So anyway, there we are. We got that done. Fuel tanks are all in. We don't have them bolted in. I think I'm going to go ahead and put the nuts on here and the washers. So these are all the bottom ones on, because we had to put the nut and the washer and everything on to put the fuel valve on. So we got both of these are turned off. If it's vertical like that, it's off, and if it's in line with the fuel line, then it's on. So that valve, well, you can't see it, can you? Is vertical. That's off. See the off word? That's off. This one is off. I see the off word. This one here is off. I don't know if you can see the off word there. This one's a little bit of a mystery one. These valves are different. This is a different kind, but you can see once when it's on. Which way does it go? This way. Yeah, see, when it's on, then it's in line with the fuel line. When it's off, it's not in line with the fuel line. But it kind of swings more than 90 degrees, it looks like. Or maybe it doesn't. No, let's stop there. Okay, now it looks right. Okay, I'll tinker with it. And then this one here, of course, same thing. Going vertically, that's off. And going in line, it's on. And, see, that's on. Flowing in. And we even have a fuel on-off valve. The Hondas have an on-off valve right here on the carburetor. And I think that's kind of useless. I mean, granted, you can turn the fuel off to the carburetor, but if you're going to work on it, you still got to turn it off from the tank, and there's no off from the tank on these engines. They just have the on-off here. But I put one on. That's all. This is my doing here because I thought it would be smarter to be able to turn it off from the fuel tank. But now we've got all the fuel tanks, and that's the main on-off for everything. You turn that off, it stops from here all the way back. They're still on. They can still feed the line, but it's not getting into the engine. Over here, we got this all configured, and you can see for the most part, I've used the chemical hose. This was silicone. This was silicone, and this is silicone from the tank to here. And I'm thinking taking the tank off again and putting the chemical hose on there, and chemical, if I can bend it and get it to bend and stuff there, put it on there too, and just screw the silicone because it worries me. It's a problem waiting to happen, a little ticking time bomb kind of a thing. So anyway, we're gonna finish up here. See, like I said, I replaced everything. I'm gonna have to go back and replace this one and that one and that one. So from the tank to the filter, I've got this silicones, and I'm not going to use it. I'm just going to go with the chemical hose here. So we will be back, and you'll see it once it's done. But I'm taking all this apart and going back through it, doing it so I can sleep at night and not catch on fire when I'm cruising in the boat because some goofy silicone thing got hard and cracked, and the gasoline went all over the damn place. So we will be back with more gas tanks and chemical fuel lines. Paradise. Yeehaw, folks. You know what we got? All chemical hose fuel lines. All the silicone fuel lines are all gone. Everything. Under here, from the tank to the on-off valve, to the filter, to the T, and to the main line, all the way down, all the way to the first tank. Fuel lines, nothing but chemical lines. So that's good, because like I said, see, these are these old lines here. Do you see how they turn brown? And you see how this is untouched by the gasoline. Well, it's touched some because it's getting harder. Yeah, this one, see, it's real soft. See that? But this one here, see it? It's getting hard. You could almost bend it and break it. I don't know. I don't want to break anything. This is where the fuel filter was here. It's really hard. See right there? It's like a hard piece of plastic. So if you try to get this out, there's no flex in it. This thing just start breaking it. So don't get that silicone fuel line, because after just a few months, maybe a month or 2 or 3, it'll harden up, and then you ain't got no flex left. And I don't know about the chemical line. I'm assuming it will be okay. It's chemical line, but who knows? And it's 3/16, so it's plenty good diameter for the fuel. So you can see we've got the fuel line from the tank going to the filter going to the on-off valve going into the main line going over to the master on-off to the carburetor. Everything, nothing's kinked. Everything bends nice curve. I'm going to probably put some rubber inner tube or something around this line here. Well, this should go in here around where it's going to rub. There's an insulation. I'll put a little section of, I'll wrap it with some rubber inner tube strips that I cut from a tire tube, and then tie wrap on each side of that, and that'll give us something to rub through if it never tries to rub through anything. And everything else is pretty good. This is rubbing. This fuel filters rub, so I may actually do this section here, this wide section, wrap it with the rubber, and then we should be good to go. So other than that, well, the next thing we got to do is put these hoops on. You see these hoops right here? This is what is going to hold the fuel on. And I measured down 6 inches. That's these blue dots here. From here down 6. And that's where we're going to line this up at, because that lines up almost perfectly with pretty close to this fuel valve here, maybe a little bit further down, so at least we got enough gravity. But we're going to put these little hoops over here like this, so the fuel line goes through it and it's routed and out of the way. It's not dangling or anything like that. So add a couple screws. We'll put, see, we got dots everywhere along the way. Put this fuel line in like that. I like to line it up like that, but the fuel line's going straight, so I got to kind of straighten these out some so that the fuel line will actually go through this hoop. So it'll be a slight angle like that to hold the fuel line and guide it nice and straight and clean. Dress it up. Thought about putting it inside of PVC, but then I can't see the fuel, so it's like, well, I don't want to do that. So anyway, that's our next thing. Put these little hoops on. Same hoops that are out here. I've got small ones and large ones. So I'm using the smaller size ones for the fuel line because it fits nicely. So we will be back with more from my Paradise on Italian Island. Yeah, baby. Fuel tanks, fuel lines, and next we got the hoops. I'm screwing them in with these little wood screws right here, and then epoxy over the tops so that we're nice and secure. So Paradise. Okie doke, folks. Looks like we got it. We got our hoops on here, but only the top screw screwed in because we want to make sure everything would work here. But like I said, we got all the new hose on there. It should last a long time. We got our filters. We got all of our little tiny clamps. Got our hoops to route the line through. Second tank, same song. Second verse. Over there, and we'll come out of there, go over the hump and down to here, from under the second tank here, all the way routed back to the engine. Got my finger of the camera to all of the connections here. Carburetor, the main fuel, carburetor, main fuel, this tank going to its filter, its on-off valve tied into the main line, and everything going back. I'll unzoom, and now we're going to put the bottom screws in. So I'll let my wife hold the camera while I screw them in. And again, this is my little cheapy 1800 peso Chinese deal. Where's the screws? These are stainless steel, of course. They're not thick enough to go through to the outside of the boat. So that's a blessing. I'm angling this one so it makes this hose tight in here. So it won't try to be sliding back and forth. And we're trying to keep it dressed. So, can you guys see me? Boom. This is Lawa on wood, so it's pretty soft. So you don't want to hammer it with a drill at maximum speed, because you'll just rip out your threads right after you screw them in. So just go up there until it's snug and you're good. This fuel line is not in any way stressed. I'll put this one a little quicker too to make it kind of tight. Make the line tight in there, kind of. Just like that. Boom. Done. Got to do these two. Yeah, you know the screw. Got two more to go. One here. Right here. Whoops. Another screw. That one's shot somewhere. We'll have to find it. But again, these are stainless steel screws. These screws came with the hoops. I'm hoping they're grade 304. because 304 is what you want for the marine use. 316 is the heavy duty super, the best that you can get. And I'm trying to move this around so it's straight up and down, but it ain't moving. So that screw is really holding, so we'll go with it like it is. Oops, lost the screw. Last one. Okay. Here we go. Can you see this, honey? Boom. Done deal. Done deal. And that's how you install gas tanks in your boat, your Trimaran. Paradise out. All right, we put about almost a liter of gas in this tank here. And again, excuse me, all the lines are filled with air, so it's not going to get down here until we open this main valve and let the air escape, and then the gas, as it flows, should flow into this bottle here. So we're going to watch, see if we got gas flowing. And oh, I got to turn this one on. I think I've got it off. No, it's on. Here it comes. Here it comes. There it goes. You can see it right there. There's a bubble right there. I don't know if you can see it, but it's moving down. It is moving. I'm going to zoom in here. We'll watch it go past here. Here, see it? See it, folks? See it right there? See that little green line there coming down? And with a bubble behind it. But it's flowing. It's flowing. It's coming down. Coming over the hump there. There's a little bit of a hump there. It's going over. The air's coming out. Going down into here. Over into here. I don't see it. No, there it is, backing up in that corner there. See it right there, the green? And pretty soon we should have gasoline dripping or running or pouring out of here.
It's right here, because it's up.
This will be flowing. If not, we might need to move this one down.
There.
We need to move that one down to get the gas to flow. This should be backing up here. So why isn't it flowing? Let me poke around and we'll find out why. Because, see, this, well, it flowed over to here. It did make it to here and down, but it should be going through here and up to here and down to there. But if the bottom of this tank isn't higher than that, then it won't flow, of course, because it seeks its own level. So we might have to put more gas in here. And the front of the boat, depending on how it sets in the ocean, you know, it could be down like that and not flow, and it could be down up like that and flow good. So that's a consideration we have to have when you have gas tanks. And no fuel pump. There's no fuel pump for these guys. They're just gravity. Everything is gravity fed. And so we made it to here. This is turned off, right? Yeah, that's turned off. This, if we turn this on, does anything flow any better? Not seeing anything move. So we may have to get more gas and put in here to see if we can make it flow and see at what level it'll flow. Because at this level here, it's not flowing. But honey, I'm going to unscrew this and lower it down and see if we get flow, and then we'll be back with more fixing the flow, folks. Paradise out. We got gas. Paradise out. Okey-doke. I've put an additional liter in here, so we have about 2 liters of fuel in here. This is a 6.5 liter tank. It almost looks like 3 liters. It looks almost half full, but it's not quite half full. but it is backing up into here. You can see there's a little bit of gas right there in that corner. It's starting to back up into here slowly, and again, we got air bubbles all in the line and stuff, so we got to work all those out. But now that we have what should be plenty of fuel to push everything through the line and out here, we're going to turn this valve on, and we should see gas, sorry for the hand there, go into that bottle. So there we go. Turn it on.
No, it's coming out now.
Okay, yeah, see? Flowing there. Okay, so we're working the air out of the line. Basically, do you see any more air in the? Yeah, see, there's a lot of air passing through here. See it? Do you see it going through the air? There's an air bubble right there in this high spot. Or it's not really a high spot, it's kind of a low spot. Now let's put this back where it was, up here, and make sure that this works. Whoops, that's a little bit high. A little bit too high. But it's still going. Honey, we need to see, this needs to be.
Do you want me to first double?
Okay. Trying to lower this part down. It's trying to spring up on me, partly because I've got this one here angled to kind of grab it so it doesn't start sliding back and forth, but that may not be a good idea. I'll just go ahead and put it back under here for now and let it flow. I don't think that little difference is going to make much difference here, but we're still working air out of the line. As you can see, there goes a bubble down, and it's working its way out. It's out, that bubble. Here comes some more. You can see them. You can see them floating through here. See, there goes one. Here comes one more. Here comes some more. Yeah, okay. So we're flowing gas, obviously. Alrighty, folks. Let me show you what we got now. I had to put what it took is more gas to get more gravity or pressure to push all the air bubbles out. And I think we've got all the air bubbles out of this. I mean, it's a pretty long fuel line. It goes up and down. It goes down from the tank, down back up to the on-off valve. If I can show you that. To the on-off valve, then goes up to the filter, then it goes down, and it's just up and down all over the place. Same thing here. It goes down and back up. So getting the air pushing out of here and through the on-off valve and all out of these little high spots here, because there's a low spot and a high spot. I'm just going to point my camera at where I'm talking. So yeah, so see, we got a high spot here where the bubble will go, and it'll flow out here, and then a high spot will sit there, and another high spot will sit there, another high spot will sit there. But put enough gas in here, it pushes all through. So we got about equal amounts of gas between this one and this one. We've got the main valve here turned on. I'm going to turn it off. We've got this tank turned off, this tank turned off, and this tank turned off. So what we're going to do, we're going to turn this tank on right here. Turn the valve on, voila. And we come down here and turn this one on, and you should be getting gas flow. Here it comes. Here it comes. See it running down? Yeah. See it coming down? Yeah. See, and it's coming down nice and good. This is really about how much gas flows even from this black tank. It looks like it's never enough, but it always is. Okay. So that one flows. I'm going to turn this off so I don't suck air back in the hose when I turn this one here off. Turn this one off. Here. Which way does it go? That one off. This one on. This one on. And again, like I said, if you turn this off, and it'll suck air back in here when the fuel tries to settle down to the lowest part. We don't want that. We don't want any more air. So now, turn this one on, and now we're feeding from the second tank. You can see it doing good. Second tank here. It's on. The valve is on. You can see it's in line with the hose. If it's in line with the hose, then it's on. Okay. So that one's flowing just fine. You can see it doing good there. Okay, now we're going to shut it off here. We do get you can actually see the air go back in as this portion of the tube drains. Normally it won't drain because it'll be on the carburetor right here, and it can't suck air back through there. So we won't have an air bubble to deal with here. Okay, so now I'm going to turn this one off. This one off. When it's almost straight up and down like that, that's off. That's like a blocking, and that's like flowing. That's how these valves work. Are the ones that I've got. I've got other valves that are opposite. Now we're going to turn this one on here from the main gas tank on. And we'll turn this one on, and I don't know how much gas is in the main gas tank. It may not have any gas. I don't see any gas in there, but I don't want to leave that on too long because, again, it'll suck in the air. So let's put some gas in this one. Is there any more gas, honey? Okay, I'll put some gas in here for that. Okie doke. We got all the air bubbles out of the line here, including from this gas tank on. So they're all feeding at the same rate, which is really slow if you ask me. You think it just runs wild coming out of this hose, but it doesn't. It just runs slowly. But that's the way it always did. Anyway, so anyway, we're all good to go. Good to go. So we will be back with more from my Paradise on the Italian Island. Paradise out.